Recording now. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining again today. My name is Shay Awojabi, Oluwaseyitan Awojabi, and today the goal will be to kind of talk through dating in post-COVID era. That's a very interesting and exciting topic, and I'm so excited to have Mr. Olatoye with us today. Just to give you an overview of what DA is about, Developing Africa is about. I say DA a lot. Developing Africa is a nonprofit. The goal really is to empower youths with very simple, to empower youths with entrepreneurial and self-development skills for free or at a discount. We have occasional trainings like this or webinars like this every 2 weeks, but we also have sessions on our community every other day of the week, where we're raising entrepreneurs and doing all the fantastic stuff. These are some ways to stay connected. The key pillars of this team is myself and Jennifer, and then we have other fantastic volunteers that keep everything going. I'll pause a little bit and have Jennifer talk about herself and introduce herself rather before we proceed.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Ezinzi, and I'm the program manager for Developing Africa.
Thank you.
So here we have the opportunity to help Africa, help Nigeria and African nations to get equipped with skills to foster economic development across Africa. So that's in the summary what I do in Developing Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right. And now we get to talk about our speaker, Mr. Dario Olatoye. I'm not going to kind of talk about all the things that you see here. It's very short, so I guess I can read it. But Mr. Dario is the co-founder of Trueflutter, a dating app and author of Beating the Odds, a guide to dating in the post-COVID era, which is what we're going to be focusing our conversation around today. It combines the skills in technology and psychology and has helped over 100 happy couples in Nigeria. I love love, so I'm really excited about this topic. Happy couples in Nigeria and in the diaspora find love. Yeah, started a private relationship matching firm in response to single professionals who wanted a quicker and more personalized matching service. That's a little bit about what I have about Mr. Dari. I'm just going to pause, have him, and just hand over to him to lead us in this conversation today.
Okay, so thank you for having me today. It's really an honor to be here. And first of all, I'd just like to say, I'd like to correct you. It's not a dating app, it's a matchmaking app.
Oh,
and the
okay.
reason why we try to shy away from being tagged a dating app is because of the unseriousness that comes with, the word dating. When you say dating apps, yeah. So that's why we're a matchmaking app for serious-minded people looking for serious relationships that will transition to marriage. Okay, so what I'll say is that a lot of things have since the pandemic started, a lot of things have changed. As a matter of fact, a lot of people will think that dating app has become more difficult, because a lot of people can't go to places they used to go to. But I think it's actually helped a lot of people connect. If you look at the statistics on matchmaking apps or dating apps even in America, about 58% of the subscribers are now more deliberate in having something serious than having flings. So it's the dynamics has changed. The numbers have actually also increased regarding the number of people being on dating apps and also matchmaking apps. So it's increased quite like significantly. So what has changed? Why is it different? People are more, the number one thing is that people are more deliberate now. When the pandemic started, before the pandemic, people thought they could just go about their lives and do whatever they wanted to do. But when the pandemic started, a lot of people started thinking that, okay, I think that, okay, I've been delaying so many things regarding dating, and people now started being more deliberate in looking for good relationships. So that the perception has changed regarding people wanting to have better relationships. And also, what else was one other thing that made people, start dating more in the pandemic? A lot of people became less busy. A lot of people had more time to connect online than having to commute to work every day. I think it's quite hectic, all around the world. Apart from Lagos, which is crazy, I'm sure in New York and the other parts of the world, the people's time schedules are different because you have to wake up in the morning, go to work, come back at night. So you don't really have much time to communicate with people. So people now had more time to communicate with people. And one other thing that's actually very important, another thing I've also noticed is that people have started having deliberate conversations. And it's not like back before the pandemic where people would just hook up maybe to just have a fling. Now people are more deliberate in having deeper conversations. And that is why the deeper conversations you have, the more attracted you are to get with the person. So it's more about the emotional connection now than the physical connection. So a lot of people looked at, before it was physical, before the pandemic, it was more of the physical connection. But now in the pandemic, since you have more time to talk, you have more time to actually talk to the person often, then it now becomes more emotional. So that is why a lot of people have drifted from physical connection to emotional connection. But one other advantage of dating in this pandemic is that people who never thought of having long distance relationships now are more open to having long distance relationship. You know why? Because a lot of people say, okay, since I'm at home and you're at home and we can't even see each other often, so why can't we be open to long distance relationships? So that's why a lot of people now are open to dating people in Abuja or dating people in the UK, knowing that, okay, I mean, if we get to know each other better, then it'll be easier to make a decision when the pandemic's over to see each other. And also one other thing that
you raise a valid point. I'm sorry. You raise a valid point by saying, being open to long distance relationships. Myself and my partner, we started off as long distance. Now we're engaged. But I guess a question for you is, a lot of people struggle with that. You talk about meaningful conversations and deeper conversations. How do you get to a point or to a level with someone that you have not necessarily seen? How do you get comfortable with having those deeper conversations? What are your recommendations, I guess?
Well, deeper conversations, we talk about, the way you have deeper conversations is when you connect to, you get to know what the person likes. Like, let me give you an instance. How my wife used to get my attention was when she used to talk about, she just say, so tell me about Trueflutter. She knew that I'll be very open. I'll be very open about it. Because she knew that was what piqued my interest. A lot of things piqued my interest, but that was the most significant thing that piqued my interest. So she just got me to talk. She got me to express myself. So in a way, in having to be in an emotional connection with someone, just try and identify what the person likes and pick those topics. That is why when you watch movies or when you talk about a certain thing that happened to you that you feel emotionally connected to, if you express yourself to someone like your partner, you now start getting mushy and emotional about it because you're just tapping into the emotions of what happened in the past. So it's always good that when you're conversing with someone to have a deeper emotional connection, just try and know what piques their interest, what interests them, and what they feel what they talk about emotionally, and you guys can get along from there.
Okay. Good question. Good point. As you
Okay.
guys put that in.
So are you okay? So one other thing was that why do people wait for 6 months or 1 year to solidify that relationship? It's because people don't have enough time to make those decisions. Now, what I always tell people is that if you communicate frequently, and that's what I always tell my clients, that if you communicate frequently, you get to know your partner. And once you know your partner, you can now come to a conclusion that, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. And what has aided communication now is pandemic, the pandemic era. Because you have more time in your hands, you now spend more time communicating with your spouse. And once you spend more time communicating with your partner, you get to know the person. So let me give you an instance. If someone was to had it in a mental, they thought about it that, okay, they were going to spend 1 year before coming to a conclusion if they're going to settle down with this person. It could take them even shorter like about 6 months, a shorter time span. Why? Because they're spending more time, they're getting to know this person, they get emotionally connected with this person due to the fact that they're communicating frequently. So that's what I always tell people. It changes the dynamics of your relationship changes when you communicate with your partner frequently. And that's what has happened in this period. People tend to communicate frequently. So coming to being deliberate. So that's what I always talk about. You need to be deliberate. For single people that are out there that they're still single and they're still thinking, oh, I haven't seen any man out there, I haven't seen any lady out there. I think that you should do something differently because people are set in their ways, and when they're set in their ways, they tend to um, keep repeating what they do, and that's why they don't meet new partners. Tend to do things differently. If you've never been on a dating app, try a dating app. If you've never been to like on I think Clubhouse is what's popular now. A lot of
Yes.
people, yes, and a lot of people on Clubhouse, and I found out that a lot of people have actually met their boyfriends or girlfriends on Clubhouse too. So it's also something you should do. I know that a lot of people could tend to be very private, but sometimes, faith. I always say faith without works is dead. I'm a Christian, so if you're praying for a partner, you need to be more deliberate about it. God is not going to come down and going to bring your partner to you. You need to be more deliberate. You need to put yourself out there. And, putting yourself out there doesn't mean that you're desperate. Putting yourself out there just makes you more visible and to make people to see you more and more. So it's very important that you're more deliberate about it.
So I have a question for you. So
Okay.
tell us a little bit. This feels like a fireside chat now, but tell us a little bit about Trueflutter. What started the vision? What started the initiative? How? Just tell us about the Trueflutter, really.
Okay. So it started because I was single, right?
Oh.
I was single for quite a while, and I've always been this guy that was very passionate. I'm very passionate about love, and I remember when I was in university, I used to write a lot of love songs because I'm also a songwriter. I used to write a lot of songs. I used to write love songs and record them. So I was always passionate about giving people just connecting people. Well, at a point in time, of course, I was in some kind of relationships that didn't work out for me. So at a point in time, I just decided, okay, let me just take a break. And when I decided to come back, to start dating again, I tried some dating apps like Tinder and all that, and I just felt the kind of people that I saw that weren't the kind of people that I was going to connect with.
Mm,
So I went to Dubai at a point in time. My partner is in Dubai,
mhm,
and he said that why don't I try dating? I said, man, that all these dating apps are not ideal for me. So he said, why don't you start our dating app? And that's how we started. We
mm.
launched our dating app like 3 years ago, and in the first few months we got about 15,000 subscribers.
Wow.
But the good thing about it is that because I was in the oil and gas sector before I started this,
Mhm.
and I was always telling God one thing. I mean, you pardon my because I put God
No,
in everything I
absolutely.
do.
Go ahead.
So I told God about one thing. I told God I wanted to add value and add
Mhm,
value to humanity. And when I started this journey as a matchmaker, it was really I thought it was really fruitful because when you get mails or you get messages from people you've connected, it's really good that they're together or they're engaged, they're having a great relationship. It's actually good and really fulfilling. So when I started, I started well, of course, I was single, and I started with the mindset that okay, I would eventually find my wife.
mm.
So yeah, I met my wife on my platform last year, January,
Aw.
and we got married last year.
Oh, so and
So
that takes us to the part of solidifying relationships. So I guess you started having deeper conversations within that short time frame. You were able to decide that this is the person that I want. Now, what helped you? Because I know with guys generally, and please anybody can come off mute to let's tackle Mr. Dari today. Anybody, people typically have issues around how do I make a decision? How do I know that this person is the one? In this era where everything is virtual, everything is remote, it's easy to have conversations with people and just tell them what they want to hear. How do you confirm that what they are saying matches their true character?
I think I always say something that you can never pretend for a long time.
Mm,
And once you have multiple scenarios, the person would actually um, there'll be a misstep, so you know. But one thing that I always said I wanted was someone with character and good values, and that was what I was actually looking out for. But well, maybe the diary of now wasn't the diary of 10 years ago, but I got to learn that there are more important things in relationships than just only the physical. There are also more things like spiritual
Mhm.
values, character, life goals, basically. And when we had that conversation, apparently, even when we spoke the first time, I knew that she was different. And I knew that I wanted to settle down with her because we had a very cool, calm conversation. And I just had this feeling that, okay, she's the person I'd like to get married to,
Mhm.
But after having that conviction, I needed to just test a bit of scenarios like how does she treat people in public? How
Mm.
does she respect the people that work for her? Does she respect people that like the normal driver and normal people? Because I love humility. I love people being humble, and that's very very essential. Being able to communicate was actually also a very important thing.
Mm.
Okay, if you don't like this thing, how do you communicate that with me to me? And that's very important. Most important thing is that I've always had the mindset that we are different people. We're all different. Even if we're born in the same family, we'll
Mhm.
be different people. We have different ideologies,
Mhm.
and we should respect our ideologies,
Right.
but also be able to embrace them. So I was also looking for someone that would know that we're both different, but
Mhm.
also accept me, and I also accept her for being different, not me just imposing my own views
Mhm.
on how relationship and how life should be.
Mm.
So, and I thought that that was a major pointer to me settling down with her because first of all, what causes divorce is people don't get along. The
Mm.
reason why is that they'll say even irreconcilable differences, right?
Mhm.
People can't reconcile so many things.
Mm.
So if you have it in the mindset that okay, we're different, but we can still live together and we can still make things work.
Mhm.
Then that already gives you that impression that okay, if you're going to settle down with this person, then
Mhm.
the person will give you peace of mind. So
Mm.
those are the few things I looked at before coming to that conclusion that okay, she's the one.
Right. And I'm just trying to take you back to the topic, right? Dating in post-COVID era, first off, you need to know what you want. Like, what do you really want in a woman or in a man or in the person you want to spend your life with or date? Then align those values or those things that you're looking out for to pick someone on a dating app. So let's talk about Trueflutter again. With
Mm.
Trueflutter, how do you necessarily is there a way for people to kind of talk about what their values are before you connect with them? How does it work? Tell us about
So okay,
Mhm.
so okay, so we put a lot of things into perspective.
Okay.
Like even the algorithm we use, we put a lot
Mhm.
of thought in that. First of
Mm.
all, we put the Nigerian factor, the African factor, in it. So
Mhm.
for instance, now we put basically the algo is to accelerate the matchmaking process.
Mhm.
And if you sign up as a user, as a subscriber,
Mhm.
we know that Nigerian ladies like to date men that are younger than them, most of them.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
it's
Mm.
it's five. So once you sign up, let me give you an instance. You're 30.
Okay.
You start seeing men that are 34,
Mhm.
5 to 5 years older than you.
Mhm.
Before you start seeing men they being younger, then we start mixing it up for you. But
Mm.
there also is beyond, and also our app is beyond just the pictures. It's also about
Mhm.
your profile, the university you went to. You
Mhm.
can connect your LinkedIn
Mhm.
profile to it. So if you want to filter only LinkedIn users
Mhm.
that have subscribers that have LinkedIn profiles connected to
Mhm.
it, then you
Mhm.
can also connect. But also we have a few features like the audio bio. We know that a lot of Nigerian ladies and Nigerian men, they like to evaluate people before they connect. So
Mm.
if you once you sign up, you can attach your audio bio to your profile, like, oh hey, my name is
Mm.
Dari, I'm an accountant, I blah 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 blah. So once you look at the person's profile, you can click on the person's profile to listen to what the person speaks like and how the person talks. But
Mm.
that also is a pointer that okay, you might want to just send this person a request based on that.
Mm.
And we also have people who are shy that don't want to be seen on an app that can go incognito. For
Mm.
instance, if you're on an app and you don't want people to know that you're on an app, you just go incognito. And if you see a profile like Sheon or Shegun,
Mhm.
You can just send him a request. It's only Shegun that will see you because you sent him a request. So
Mm.
we put a lot of all those things in perspective. And
Mhm.
also, the matchmaking algorithm is to matchmake you with people that are, similar to your profile, people
Mm.
that, that would complement you. Now we're adding artificial intelligence and machine learning to it in a couple of weeks, where you will be able to be more specific regarding your matches. So you can say that you want to only meet people between the ages of this and this,
Mm.
or if you want to meet someone that only likes a graduate, if
Mhm.
you also want to meet someone that's a bit spiritual, so you can
Mm.
put all that in it, and the machine learning just picks profiles and just recommends those
Recommends
kind
to
of
you.
profiles
Recommend
to
her.
you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So very good. I feel like did I deviate you from where you were going? I feel like I deviated a little bit.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's actually okay.
Okay, great. So I guess my next question now, let's take it back into dating post COVID. Now, I don't know if COVID would ever I don't know how the new norm is going to be, right? We all know that COVID is probably going to continue to exist or whatnot. But in a situation, what's my question? How do I phrase this question? How do you recommend that people who are not, I know you talked about, being open to other things, but for people who, whether or not you're telling them to be open, are not open to putting themselves out there or putting themselves on a dating app or using dating apps, what would be your recommendation or how would you help them get to that level of comfortability?
Okay. I also have a matchmaking platform which is personal.
Mm, okay.
So for people who don't like being on dating apps or
Mhm.
matchmaking apps, they can have like the personal one I have, which is like
Mm,
one-on-one. We have a one-on-one consultation,
mm,
just to be able to get to know you, and also so it's more private when it comes to that. And I send you matches based on your preferences, your deal breakers, and so
mm,
many other things. And I mean, I've worked with so many people
mhm,
in different sectors, and it's because maybe they've heard of the success rate, because the success rate is quite high on
mm,
my matchmaking
mhm,
platform.
mhm,
It's quite high. So people tend to make those decisions based on
mm,
that. And like I always tell people, it doesn't hurt to try new things. It
mm,
doesn't hurt at all to try new things. Well, I mean, what can it, or I mean, it won't hurt.
mm,
So try something different. And that's what I always tell people. Let me give you an instance. My sister got married at the age of 48, like a few
mhm,
years ago.
mhm.
And the person she got married to was just about 30 minutes away from her.
Oh, wow.
And the guy was also single for about 8 years. So imagine if they're happily married now, then I
Mhm,
mean, it's like a match made in heaven.
mhm.
Imagine if someone could have facilitated that match 8 years
Long
ago,
time ago.
a
Mm,
long time ago, or if they were to hop on a matchmaking app or something about some years ago.
mhm,
Imagine what it would have been then. They
mhm,
would have met 8 years ago. So it's the same way that these things work. I know we as men and women, we go out every day, we meet people every day.
mhm,
But the question is that do we meet the right people we actually want to settle down with? So if we don't meet the right people we want to settle down with, why wait so long and wait for God to do things when you can also take action, be more deliberate, you
mm,
know, get people that are specialized in this to help you matchmake people. And the thing about life is that I always tell people there's always one person out there looking for, there's always one person out there looking for a great relationship, looking for what you're looking for,
mm,
looking for someone like you. So some people
mm,
might think that, oh, I'm out there, okay, I'm here, I'm single to stupor, like people say, and I don't think there's any girl for me, there's any guy for me. Trust me,
mm,
there's so many people out there looking for what you're looking for.
mm,
And imagine you being in sync with that person. It's going to be a seamless transition from just being single to having a relationship and transitioning to marriage. It's going to be simple. Why?
mm.
Because your motive is already the same. You guys already know what you want. You guys want to settle
Right.
down, but also I mean, there's so many similar traits that you guys can complement each other. There's so many things. The level of agreeableness will be high because both of you already know what you want. It's when people have cold feet that they don't know what they want to do at that point in time that they start dragging the relationship so long, or they might wait for another 2 3 years. They might date someone. I mean, I have a situation where there's a girl that a guy dated for close to 10 years. I said, what was she doing? What was she waiting for? Are you waiting for Jesus to come and say, oh, this is your wife? So she wasted all her life, all her those years, just because one guy didn't make that decision. But if you meet the right person, if you can connect with that right person, the person can make the decision even 2 or 3 months, and you guys would, have a fantastic life together.
Okay. Well, so I had a question. No, we had talked about agreeability. Now, at the beginning of our conversation today, we talked about long distance relationship, being open to long distance relationships, and a lot of the time we're not physical these days. So being able to connect with someone that you're not necessarily with. Now, how do you recommend that conflicts are handled? It's said that when we are together, when we are physically together, it might be easier to resolve a conflict than when we are miles apart. How do you recommend for people who decide to go with matchmaking or with people who are far apart from where they are? How do you recommend that conflicts are resolved easily and smoothly?
It communicates. But there's a different thing. People say communicate before you go to bed. Your But the thing about it is that if you're still in a bad mood before you go to bed, then why just express yourself? What I'm trying to say is that try to know when you're supposed to reach out to the person, even when you guys don't agree on certain things, to know when the tension is a bit low, and you can communicate. Because no matter how, if you decide to communicate when the tension is high, then you won't be getting your message across. So you'll be able to know when to communicate when you don't agree on some certain things. But what I would say is that one thing that is very good to prevent so many things like this from happening is being transparent from the get-go. So being transparent from the get-go is actually very good. You don't create some certain expectations in your partner, and that doesn't cause a risk between both of you. Let me give you an instance regarding finance. A lot of people tend to hide, their financial capability, while they're dating their spouse. And the spouse would have a certain perception about the guy that, oh, the guy should do this and do that. And if the guy doesn't do this, because if he doesn't show up because of his financial capability, the girl would think he's stingy, right? So it's the same way, if you communicate what you have or what you do, then the person has less expectations, and the person will be able to deal with what is going on at that point in time. It's the same way with long distance relationships. If from the get-go, if you both state, okay, that we're going to date for a while, and once the pandemic is over, let's just give ourselves a time frame. There's always a vision board. You can always create a vision board for your relationships. Create a time frame of when you think you can work towards seeing or work towards being together, and you both of you will be in sync. And once you're in sync, there will be less friction, between both of you.
Okay. Okay. So another question, I promised the last one. Tell me a little bit about your book, Dating in the Post-COVID Era. What can you tell us about it? What are some, for you, if you wrote the book, what are some key highlights that you would like to share that you think if nobody even reads the entire book, you want them to absolutely keep at the back of their minds?
Okay. One of the things is patterns. Patterns is we human beings have certain patterns. We're born with certain patterns, and that is one major thing. That's one major reason why a lot of people are single. A certain patterns in the sense that it doesn't have to be bad, but it's something you grew up knowing, and those things could also sabotage your relationships. And it's when you determine the patterns, the patterns, and you change those patterns, then you can now have a better relationship. Let me give you an instance. There's this guy called John Nash. He's a mathematician in America. He's late now. He was a Nobel Prize winner. He has schizophrenia, and people he never believed anybody at first. He kept doing so many things. People said he needed help. He said he did need help. I mean, the Nobel Prize. I mean, he was a big guy. He used to work for the Pentagon, and he never knew that he had a problem. but he almost drowned his baby at a point in time because he thought that the guys he were seeing, they were real, but they actually weren't real. Were just, they're just in his head. And so he told someone to look after the baby while he was like having the baby's bath. But there was actually nobody there, and he almost drowned the baby. But at the point in time when he realized that the people in the dream never grew old, he now realized that there was something different about himself. He said they never grow old. So that means they're not real. At that point in time, whatever happened to him that time was he had an insight about what problem he had, that he had a problem. So if he had a problem, that's when he could deal with that problem. So the thing, what I'm trying to link that with relationships. A lot of people don't know that they have certain challenges, they have certain patterns. They just feel that it's normal for them. But I think that it's best for people to be able to listen, to be able to be self-aware of what's going on, be able to identify their issues and be able to resolve those things. And that would help them very well in their next relationship. I've noticed, so that's the key point. And it works like magic. For myself as a person, I identified my pattern years ago, and I knew that, okay, Dari, you were doing this, you were doing certain things in relationship. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it was just, the relationship just didn't work based on the fact that I used to do these things the same way. But I identified the patterns and I worked on those patterns. And that's why, it was an easy transition from there onwards. So being able to identify your patterns and being able to rectify those things is very important. That's what I stated in the relationship, And if I'll add one thing, I always tell people it's the same way when I have clients, and if I match them with someone and they keep referring to their past relationships, it's a way, that's also a pattern, and if you communicate that with that person, I think this is a pattern, because anybody I match you with, you always keep putting them on the spot, and you're always talking about what some guy did to you years ago, and you want the person to be able to, to give you that good enough reason why it won't be like that guy. So you're already putting the guy on the spot, and that was a pattern. So that was a pattern I identified, and I told the person. And once the person changed, moving forward, the person had a good and great relationship. So identifying patterns is very important.
So what would be another thing from the book that you'd like to point out, like you'd like to share, that you think everybody should absolutely know?
Okay. Of course, I've talked about that before. I've talked about that in our conversation. Being more deliberate in looking for the partner that we feel that we spend the rest of our lives with. It's also talked about the story of how myself and my wife met, and but being more deliberate is really key. A lot of people have they're set in their ways. They don't want to. They just think that, okay, when time comes, it'll happen. And just need to put yourself out there. You pray, but you also need to put the work in and be more deliberate.
So when you think about, now let's relate it back to the African culture, right? Put yourself out there, be deliberate, all great. But when you think about women and the women shooting their shots, the shooting their shot era, right? How do you say, how do I phrase this question? What do you recommend for women who are not necessarily comfortable being deliberate, putting themselves out there, or telling the guy that, hey, I like you? What do you recommend for women like that? You're like, yeah, do it. It's not a problem. But what do you recommend? How do you recommend that women deal with such situations in a community or in a culture that doesn't accept it?
First of all, who started the culture?
Good question. That's a
I
good
always tell
question.
I always tell people that the culture started from one person, right, or a set of people, and that's what that's trickled down to our own generation. So everybody should have their own ideologies. You don't need to follow what the culture says. So when people say the way it's different in India, where the men, the women pay the bride price, it's the reverse here, right? In Nigeria. So cultures are different. And if you want to think outside the box and say you want to do things your own way, then I think it's fine. But also, one important thing is that you don't really necessarily have to say, I like you as a guy, as a lady. you could also just, the way the ladies do it now, that you don't have to. I mean, there's some green light you send, and if the guy, you don't have to be vocal about it. You could just check on the guy, just make the guy know that okay,
You're there.
you're there, and if he likes you, then he would approach you. But if not, then you can move on. It's the same way with like Miles Moreau said something before. God bless his soul. He said that when Adam and he created Eve, Adam saw Eve, and because Eve was positioned, he said Eve was positioned in a certain way, and Adam saw her and liked her. But he showed what he was trying to say was that what it was, Eve was basically like Adam was attracted to Eve, but Adam actually saw Eve before he could be attracted to her. But just because that Eve positioned herself for Adam to see Eve in that light. So yes, so you can position yourself for your man to see you. You don't have to say it verbally that, oh, you like him, but by your actions, he should know that you like him. And if it's also serious, then you would also make the move.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to pause. I feel like I've asked a lot of questions. I'm going to see if anybody from the audience has any questions. Feel free to come off mute. Feel free to use the chat. Any questions from the team for Mr. Dari? Someone is typing. While we wait for that question to come up, does anyone else have a question they want to come off mute and ask? I'm guessing no. Okay. I'll wait for, is there an age bracket for the application? Is there an age, yeah, that's a good question. Do you have like an age limit, or is it between 16 to 50, or what's the age range of people that can use the Trueflutter app?
Yes, 18 to 60.
18 to 60.
But for my platform, for my own personal platform, is 25 to like 50.
What's the justification for that? You're not ready to date until you're 25, or?
No, I just feel that I mean, I don't know if there are men here, but I feel in Nigeria, a lot of men that age are not looking to settle down. I mean, many of them, because they look at the financial aspect, the financial responsibility and co. Like I was in Clubhouse last week and I had like I set up a room with my co-founders. So some men came up and they said, oh, they're not open to serious relationships. They just want to have girlfriends and so on. So I felt bad in a certain way leaving the meeting, because of those kind of guys saying those kind of things. But in hindsight, when I looked at it, I said, these guys are like 24 now. So what do I expect from them? So I don't expect them to say they want to get married. At if 24, I wasn't looking at getting married, even though I was very open to serious relationships, but maybe I was not capable of getting married then. So, and that's just a fact. And so that's why when it comes to my personal matchmaking platform, I have most of my clients are between 25. More of them are like 28 to 50, than 25.
Okay. I know Adeolu Ojo was typing something. Please feel free. You guys feel free to come off mute and ask your questions if you have any questions. And Jennifer is also typing as well. I'll just wait for those questions to, oops, sorry. I'll just wait for those questions to come up, and then we can kind of ask them and take it forward. Can you talk a little bit about people that are tribalistic? Another culture shock.
So that is, I've had serious, I've had certain people, I always come in from the angle of being Christian, so being a Christian. So before that, I would say where are we actually from? First of all, we're children of God, number one. And we all come from one ancestor, which is I mean, of course, Noah, um, from Noah's Ark, people migrated from there. People went to Africa. People went to
Mm-hmm.
Europe. People went to different places, and
Mm-hmm.
people, that's how the population grew from there. But what I'm trying to say is that we're all from one tribe, and which is the tribe of Judah, which were from God. So why do we choose to be different? Why do you choose to choose? Why do you choose to be tribalistic? It's when you look at me from that perspective, it's actually bad. I've had to talk to friends about maybe even talking to their parents to have them think otherwise, and they say no, they want to marry. I think there's some other tribes that are less tribalistic,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they just keep saying that that's the culture, So you won't blame them for what's happened in the past, but I think the world is evolving now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it depends on the environment you grew up in, where you grew up. So I really will not expect, people of certain tribes to act that same way abroad or in the UK or in America. I'm sure they'll be very open to dating other tribes or other, people of other nationalities. It's only in Nigeria. But having to deal with that, I mean, that's what it is. Some people don't even date people that are from other villages and they're from the same tribe.
Hmm. That's
Because my best
interesting.
friend actually, it happened to him too. He's from Anambra. He's from a certain village in Anambra. He wanted to date wanted to marry someone from another village, and the father said no.
Hmm.
The people in that village are ancestors.
Oh wow. Hello. I lost him. So my
That they
network.
won't you have made a different decision, or your mom, or the people that are telling you not to marry this certain person. So let me
Mm-hmm.
give you an instance. You're 30, your parents are 60. If you
Mm-hmm.
were 40, and let's just say your parents were not on earth,
Mm-hmm.
would you would your decision have changed? So if not, so why be unhappy because you want to please some people?
Hmm.
So that's just the thing.
Okay. So I guess speaking of tribe, there's another tricky part to that being religion. Right. So, what is your opinion of people who are absolutely in love? For example, Christians who are 100%, 150% in love with Muslims, but because of the religious part of things, they're unable to date them. What is your take on that?
So it all depends on being able to agree. First of all,
Mm,
I don't. I always tell people look at it beyond yourself.
mm-hmm,
Look at your children. When you have children, what would you be? Would you be open-minded and tell your children to choose whatever religion suits them? And if you're fine with that, then it's okay. But if you're a Christian and you feel that your children have to be Christians and maybe you
mm,
want to marry a Muslim, then I think that you should give it a good thought.
mm-hmm,
And before you even go deeper, you already know what you're going into before you go deeper in a relationship. So
mm-hmm,
why wait to like the 11th hour before you start having cold feet about that?
mm,
So like
okay.
some people will say from the get-go that okay, I can't marry you because you're
Mm-hmm,
from this certain religion. And if that can work, then let's just go our separate ways. So
mm-hmm,
people make those kind of decisions. And so I think you should know from the get-go what you're getting yourself into. If you feel
mm-hmm,
that you're open to it, you're open to your
mm-hmm,
children being, to your children choosing any religion, then it's fine.
mm,
But if
mm,
you're not open to it, then I guess you should not go into that relationship.
mm. So there are two questions, and I see more coming. One person says, "What checks have been put in place to avoid catfish accounts?"
Oh, so we have facial recognition features. We
Mm,
have um, verification with via OTP. So that's for just to track numbers in case there's anything that goes wrong. And we noticed that most of these um, people don't like using their phone number. So if that's why some apps only use their email address. So they can just open a Google account in like to 2 or 3 minutes, and they're done, and they can get into an app. But for us, we have OTP verification, we have facial recognition features, and we also have like a moderator. For instance, now if someone is chatting and we know that, and he chats maybe hookups or chats and says a keyword like hookups or
Mm-hmm.
account number, it
Mm-hmm.
flags, if we have a moderator that just alerts us, and we just contact the person not to transact on our platform,
Mm.
and just tell the person to be careful. But
Mm-hmm.
also and also for catfishing, we are, like I said earlier, we are launching a new version next week, which will have the video and
AI.
audio
Mm-hmm.
functionality. No, not even AI, video
Mm-hmm.
and audio functionality that can use to verify people. Like for
Mm.
instance, you're on the app and you want to just verify that is the person you're talking to, you can click on the video functionality
Mm-hmm.
and just have a video call with the person without even exchanging numbers with the person.
Mm.
So
Okay. Okay, that's great. So
mm.
another question, well, two questions. One is targeted at me. Some people are attacking me.
Okay,
She says,
okay.
Shaita, if you were not engaged, can you marry an Igbo and Hausa man? Well, personally, I'll say yes. I've dated an evil man before, and I was absolutely in love, and I didn't care. I didn't care what anybody had to say. Me, I'm fine as long as, like you said earlier, as long as the value system aligns, as long as I feel like this guy, our values align, our characters align, we can resolve conflicts easily. All of those basic things align. I personally do not care. To answer your question, but she
Mm,
has a question for you. She said
mm,
she would love to hear what your view is on sex. I know that's a topic a lot of people don't like to talk about, but what is
mm,
your view around sex in this era, especially for people, let's go back to the topic, dating in post-COVID era, for people who are doing long distance relationships that don't have that ability. uh, Generally, what's your view?
mm.
Mm,
I feel like everybody has his own, but I think generally, I think I mean, you should, I think the more important thing is emotional connection. And you know that if you guys connect and eventually start a relationship or get married, there are a lot of times, if you have enough years to have all that sex you want to have. But the most important thing is how um how you connect with the person at the point in time. Is it compulsory you have sex with the person before marriage? I don't think so. It's not compulsory, so and that already shows that the person has self what do you call it, um the person can hold himself or she can hold herself. But also there's, so like I said, there are more important things than that. And you have if you're truly going to be settling down with that person, you have enough years to spend together having all the sex you want.
mm, okay. Jennifer and Adeolu, does that answer your questions? Or do you have any additional questions? If anyone else have additional questions, I see Wheezy speaks, Isika, Bola, Fumi. Any questions? Any additional
Yeah.
questions?
Oh, hi, Wizzy. I think I know Wizzy speaks.
Oh, really?
Okay, so Wizzy should I'm sure Wizzy should have a question, right?
Well, two people are putting something in the chat now. Deolu and Jennifer. Wheezy, do you have anything to add? Great. So that answers Jennifer's question. What about Deolu? Oh, Deolu asks another question. What is the privacy policy of the app? Any form of intrusion?
No, not at all. It's encrypted. We don't. I mean, can you monitor? I'm just kidding. But can you monitor thousands of people chatting? I mean, it's not our. I mean, but apart from that, it's encrypted. Because we don't. But just for protection, for just protecting our clients, it just flags certain users. Okay, this user said this, like it said hookups. Then we don't read the chat. It just flags it, and we just chat with the person. Like, let me give you an instance. Someone sent and there's also a report function then on the app. Someone sent a report function about reported that a user, and we called the user. We called the person. The lady said, "Oh, the guy was extremely rude. It was like a troll. guy kept trolling her, abusing her, and we just deactivated the guy's account. So those are like the things we put in place just to regulate those things. We don't accept married men, even though we can't know if you're married or not. But if you are reported you're married, we're going to deactivate your account. And it's happened once. The guy reached out to us that why did we deactivate his account? He said, well, if we don't accept married men. If you can do it on other apps, you can't do it here. And it's not compulsory. You should be on our app because we understand what we're doing. We understand we're trying to add value. And if we know in our heart or hearts that this person is single or this person is in a relationship or married, then we know that because I'm also a Christian, I know that the guy is just going to be there to waste people's time, and people are not there. I mean, there are a lot of serious-minded people there, and we want to just have that mix of married people and single people on the app. So yes, we put those things in place. The report function is also there. I forgot to mention that. So if you have you're not comfortable about a certain conversation that's going with a guy or a lady, you can just report it and we call you and you can just explain to us what happened and we'll take action from there.
Awesome, great. Does that answer your question, Diolu? Visa Speaks is putting something in the chat as well. I know we have about 7 minutes. Everybody, tell your friends, your single friends, looking to date, looking to marry friends, to all go and check out Trueflutter. We're looking to celebrate a lot of marriages this year, so please let's get them connected. But waiting for Weezy Speaks to put in this question.
Also, I want to say something, right? I want to ask you a question. Okay, you're engaged now, but I want to throw the question out in public. I've noticed a certain trend, and I want to ask you this question: if you were to be single and you heard that there are a lot of single guys at what's the name of that place? Do you live in Lagos?
No, I don't. Not at this time.
Okay. GT Food Bank. I'm sure people who live in Lagos
Oh,
know
yeah,
GT.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
GT fashion show, and of course, the gist then was, there are a lot of single people going there, and a lot of people just used to go there to shoot their shots. If you got to the gate and you just didn't see like the ideal guys, would you just walk back to your car and drive home?
No.
That's the same way with matchmaking apps or dating apps. I noticed that there's a bit of impatience. I mean, a bit of impatience. So once someone sees one or two people or three profiles, they tend to just log out and not want to do it anymore. But I always tell people that if you see three profiles, there are thousands of people on that app. So why would you be discouraged by just seeing three people and you just decide to move on after seeing three people? Everything is being deliberate and taking actionable steps. I mean, and also being consistency, being very consistent, being very consistent. And I always say something, the highest expression of love is what? Sacrifice. If you want to make that sacrifice, make sure you make the sacrifice and you know that it's worth your while. So once you're on the app or you're even anywhere and you don't see the ideal people, you might just see that once you go inside, you might just see the ideal person for you.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Weezy was typing something. Again, please feel free to come off mute and talk. I'll just give it about 1 or 2 more minutes for that question or that thought to come in before we round it up for today. Weezy, are you trying to say something or are you good?
Hello, good evening. I'm good. I'm trying to type, but I'm struggling. I'm finding it difficult to type. Well done, Mr. Dare. You are doing very well. Thank you.
Hi, Wizzy. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
I was just trying to commend you for the insight and you are doing just incredible insight you have given already. So that's what I just actually wanted to.
Oh, awesome.
Thanks, Wizzy.
Awesome. Well, that kind of brings us to the end of today's session. Is there any not pattern words, anything you'd like to share, Mr. Diary? Anything you'd like to share? Anything you'd like to use to round this up?
One thing I always like to, I mean, my parting word is always try to give. I always give people hope, and and that's what I've been doing for the past like 2 decades. A lot of people have been through bad relationships. A lot of people have gone through relationships that have not worked for them, but I always try to tell them that there's always someone better for them out there. If this present relationship didn't work, there's always someone out there you meet and will be wondering, be asking you where you've been all his life,
Wow.
all this while. So you shouldn't lose hope, be more deliberate, and the love of your life is actually out there waiting for
Oh,
you, waiting
oh
to
my
meet you.
God.
Mm.
Blushing. That's sweet. But yeah, thank you so very much, Mr. Dare. Really appreciate all the insights. The key thing is have deeper conversations, be open to doing things out of your comfort zone, be deliberate, have more, physical beyond physical connections, build those deeper relationships. We talked about the book, identifying your patterns and correcting them before they become issues or before they affect all your relationships. Those are some of the key things that I put in my notes. I'm sure a lot of people also had some fantastic takeaway points. But like I said, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to. I know it was Bumble that the founder became like a billionaire or something through the app. I look
Yeah.
forward to hearing that pretty soon about
Thanks a
Trueflutter.
lot. Thanks a lot.
But thank you so much for your time today, and looking forward to connecting with you going forward. I'm going to stop
Thank you.
recording now. If anybody wants to talk outside of the recording,